This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle. We are awaiting a news conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota from Mayor Betsy Hodges following the resignation of the city's police chief at her request. She says she lost confidence in the chief following last week's shooting death of an unarmed Australian woman by a police officer, and we're going to bring that to you when it begins. We are also following another big day of breaking news in Washington. Sean Spicer is out as press secretary. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is in, and Anthony Scaramucci will now lead the White House communications team. Spicer abruptly resigned earlier after the president appointed Scaramucci to the post. He gave his first TV interview to Sean Hannity. It will air in an hour from now at 10 p.m. Eastern, but we've got some preview clips.
From what I understand, and all the reports are, the president did not want you to go. Tell us what happened.
He didn't. He's been very gracious throughout this process. He wanted to bring some new folks in to help rev up the communications operation. And after reflection, my decision was to recommend to the president that I give Anthony and Sarah a clean slate to start from so that they can talk about the president's agenda and help move it forward. And he, after some back and forth, understood that the offer that I was making was something that was in the best interest of this administration. I thanked him for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to watching Anthony and Sarah do a tremendous job.
Scaramucci had a lot of nice things to say about Spicer earlier, despite false reports of a feud.
I want to thank personally Sean Spicer, not only on behalf of myself, the president, the administration, but Sean is a true American patriot. He's a military serviceman. He's got a great family, and he's done an amazing job. This is obviously a difficult situation to be in. And I applaud his efforts here, and I love the guy, and I wish him well, and I hope he goes on to make a tremendous amount of money. I would love to have Sean here. Sean decided that he thought it would be better to go. His attitude is, if Anthony's coming in, let me clear the slate for Anthony, and I do appreciate that about Sean, and I love him for it.
All right, so that occurred today, Dina. No better to go to than yourself.
Well, you know, I love the job of press secretary. I'm glad it had an end date so that, you know, I might still be there because I really did love it. But it also is, the job has changed a lot, even since I was there. When, in January of 2009, when I left, I didn't even have a Twitter account. So if you think of how social media has changed the way we all communicate with each other and the scrutiny that comes with the job anyway, it was tough. I also think that Sean, who I worked with in the Bush administration, he was a U.S. Trade Representative spokesperson, great on strategy, excellent tactician, yes. Wonderful guy, right? Yeah. On his very first day of press secretary, when the president asked him to go into the briefing room, we were live on the 5.
We were.
And we were watching it, and we were all thinking, what in the world is happening? And from that day on, he had kind of a rough road.
You mean the crowd-sized
press conference? The crowd-sized press conference.
Ran out with a meat axe and tried to kill various members of the press. Yeah.
Yes.
Slaughterhouse
and the suit that wasn't fit. Yeah. And that was the day that, from that first day, people said he's going to get fired. But he showed a lot of tenacity. I think that he did a really good job with what he was asked to do. And I think some of the reporters in the briefing room thought, why are you fighting with us all the time? But I think that's what the president wanted to see. Then recently, he's not been doing as many on-camera briefings. He was also serving a dual role as the White House communications director. That's impossible.
It's untenable, really.
It's not possible to do both jobs well. Both of them need an absolute focus, and you get about 4 hours of sleep a night if you're doing either of those jobs. Trying to do both of them is too difficult. So I think, just to sum up, there are 3 things you can do in a situation like this. If your boss wants to layer in somebody on top of you or next to you, and you disagree with it, you can accept it and try to work within that and maybe acquiesce. That's fine. You can make your case, lose, and then decide that the right thing for you to do is resign. Or you can stay and get bitter, leak against your colleagues, like do things that would be pretty despicable in Washington. But I think today what we saw is somebody doing what you would hope other people need, government, not just in the political administration, but in the entire government. If you disagree, and you don't think you can do your job the way that you want to do it, resign honorably. And he also leaves the White House amicably. Yeah. So he's got a good relationship with the president and with Scaramucci and Rines and Bannon. So, and goodwill still with the press because a lot of people knew him from before. So probably the best outcome for Sean today was to resign. And look, he already looked like he felt a little better.
He did, right? Can you imagine?
And I should add, I don't think that Saturday Night Live ever knew my name. And I can't imagine how that must have felt all the time. He dealt with it pretty well. Remember, he laughed about the gum, and he had suggestions for Melissa McCarthy. But we all know from being even just bullied on Twitter by Russian robots, it hurts. And so that humiliation, it takes a toll.
Well, let me just say, I think there's a different version of events that's circulating in Washington, which is that Sean was up to be Deputy Chief of Staff to Reince Priebus and to take the communications job. And the problem here is that he was blindsided, that in fact what you see is that the president, very impressed by the fact that Anthony Scaramucci was able to get CNN to apologize, CNN to fire people, that he was combative with them and won, then really taps into Jared Kushner, to Ivanka, his daughter, his son-in-law and daughter, had a meeting there Thursday night. Priebus was not aware that, in fact, Scaramucci was going to be hired. Priebus had tried to block Scaramucci, in fact, had blocked Scaramucci from being hired previously. So now you get a situation where Priebus looks like he's on the edge, as well as seeing Sean Spicer pushed out. And, you know, you think about what this means. It's been one hell of a week for the Trump White House. Think back, Sessions, you know, come forward to the health care bill. Now you have a situation where the White House Chief of Staff is on the edge and the White House Press Secretary.
Don't forget Made in America Week.
Okay.
Oh, Made in America Week. I forgot Made in America Week.
I don't think the Democrats should be celebrating Scaramucci coming into the White House communications director position, because this guy is going to bring the Democratic Party a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. This guy is a straight-up killer. He's polished. He's well-spoken, he's personable, he's made a ton of cash on Wall Street and commands a lot of respect. I think what you saw on the podium there tonight was a guy that was in total control, didn't miss a beat, never stammered, never stuttered. This guy executes. He gets things done. And whereas Spicer didn't really have a mind meld going on with President Trump, I think Scaramucci's cut from the same cloth. They're both from Queens. You know, they both kind of grew up in humble beginnings, so to speak, whatever that means for some people.
He's from Long Island.
They're very successful
Trump
people.
grew up in humble beginnings now?
They're both from Queens. And they both started off on the street.
He's from Port Washington, Long Island.
Long Island, Queens. From those of us who are familiar with the area, we're going to give them the border. But my point is that Scaramucci is going to breathe a whole new life into the White House Communications Department. And from what we're hearing from our sources in Washington, too, is that we're going to go back to Trump the campaigner. And Trump the campaigner scares the life out of Democrats, because that's who beat Hillary Clinton, and that's when Trump is most successful.
Jesse.
When he's doing his rallies, when he's out there among the people, when Trump is making news. Trump is not successful when he's playing defense in the White House.
Jesse, there's
he's the most successful when he's out there driving the conversation.
Like Made in America Week.
That's what you're going to see in the next couple of weeks.
Let me tell you who's driving the conversation is Robert Mueller and the Russia investigation. Scaramucci's coming in to fight. You are right now. We are on the verge. This is like, you know, when you see, who was that guy that comes out in Vegas and says, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble.
Well, and sometimes you do indeed need a wartime consigliere.
That's what he is.
Also, you know, the thing is, you have to have somebody in there that I think that understands the president. He has a long-standing relationship with him. They get each other, like Jesse was saying. And so this is someone that enjoys the confidence of the president, of the family. He's also a lawyer, you know, graduated from Harvard Law. And so all of these things are going to come into play, especially given, yes, the investigations that are going on. So you want somebody that you can count on, that you know can do your messaging effectively during a time like this.
Well, look, the internal pressure, the tension within the Trump White House has been, do you go to war with Robert Mueller? Do you try to discredit him? Do you try to get into basically a fight with him so that you can either force him out, fire him, or when he comes to whatever conclusion he comes to? And I think the broad consensus is it won't be all rainbows and sunshine when he gets to the end, whatever it is, whether it's Paul Manafort or whomever. There'll be some bad news in there for the administration. Do you try to discredit him and push hard in advance? Or do you say, we welcome his participation, we're going to work cooperatively with him? They've been back and forth a little bit. I think the arrival of Scaramucci, the ouster, not the ouster, but the handwriting on the wall for Spicer tells us, I think, that, Juan, you're exactly right in this sense. This is a war footing.
Yes.
This is the time for the struggle. They're going to go against Mueller hard. They're going to bring a lot of heat.